Welcome back to another All Base Creations, the Cutting Session Podcast.
Welcome back to another All Base Creations.
God. Sorry about that, guys. The Cutting Session Podcast.
I had all this muted. Sorry, but we back in there. Where we at? In there. Yeah. Ha! This will happen when you gotta do it all yourself.
But yeah, so glad to see that you guys are back with us once again. Today we got in the house my man Dana Hawkins, one of my personal favorites, been a real inspiration to me down through the years. Truly one of the reasons why I chose Berkeley. I need to get around people such as this.
Thank you.
And look how life come full circle. Now he's sitting in my house. That's crazy. That's crazy for me. But I know for some of y'all, it's not as crazy. But for me, hey, he's one of my favorites, and I do have a lot of respect for you, bro. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you, bro.
Good, brother. So you got any how they get in touch with you before we started on social media?
I'm Dana J. Hawkins on Instagram, and I'm Dana J. Hawkins on Facebook. Prince and Nod also on Instagram, but that page got hacked, so that'll be back up soon as I figure out how to protect it properly. I'll get the cyber police on it. And then, so that's where you can find me, Dana J. Hawkins, Instagram. Please comment, follow, like, subscribe, And my YouTube channel is Dana J. Hawkins again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, of course, y'all know how we do. We get started with a tune right up the back. And, of course, last time we were doing covers. This time we're just going to do a few grooves because we don't want YouTube problems.
That's right.
So,
Copyright, baby.
So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. Let's see. Let's make sure we got enough volume here on this mic. You always can use a little bit more volume. There we go. So we're going to talk about today. Topic of the day is making a living at home as a musician. And I'm sure you can relate to this. You know, there's been plenty of times where, you know, all the tour calls ain't coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to find a way to still feed yourself, and then in a lot of cases feed your family and whoever else you have around you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the ways, let's just start with, what are some of the ways musicians can make a living at home? Like,
well, I think one way musicians can make money at home is instruction and consulting, being an advisor to people who are sort of in the preliminary stages of designing and building their own methods and figuring out their direction, if that involves a sound or if that involves a business model, what is their function or going to be for the majority of their lives or remainder of their lives rather. So, you know, that could be a nice, and those can even be other streams, just the way that you have to conduct yourself to get the best parts out of it.
yeah.
You have to understand business, and you have to kind of have a business model, which is different from being a musician. You know, musician, you know, you can kind of have a philosophy and fake your way to your funeral, and, you know, a lot of people would have been happy to know you, but I mean, that's one thing. Some people can live that way. Some of my brothers and sisters, you know, they have different functions, but those are two streams I think that are important for musicians to at least consider. And then I think other streams, what you can do, is like, you know, learn about the business part, about booking, about, you know, what it means to create door deals, to create advantages for other musicians. Because I mean, I think the thing is in our development we get so isolated. You know, in order for us to become the best version of us, we spend a lot of time alone. And the benefit from that time, you know, that could be virtual lessons, consulting.
Yeah.
But sometimes it makes us a hermit, and what we really need to do is team up, because the best stuff we're going to do is probably with the help of someone who is as driven and mature enough to see a plan and a strategy through so that everybody can prosper from it. So I think also learning about booking, and not just events that yield music, you know, just events. You know, when you're home, learn how to throw a party. If you know an endless amount of content, why not think about being a DJ? Learn, you know, another stream. I mean, it's like musicians have such an abundance of content, but I think in that we can drown in the experience of just trying to prepare for a moment that might not come when it's like, when it means that to us.
Yeah.
You know, like it'll come, but by that time we probably matured and graduated to another stage. So it does have significance, but it's not the same thing.
Right.
So yeah, I think there should be a mentality to consider all of the departments that are dealing in music, since that's where your advantage is. Because I also do trades, but like you, I'm fortunate that we had wise and industrious people in our lives that set clear examples and had real skills to hand over, so that, you know, we wouldn't necessarily have to rely on it. But I also think too that when I count all of the other streams and postures and hats I put on within music, it's like I feel like everybody could get a lot out of it if they could be married to the idea of their conception being more related to things that aren't necessarily musical, but administrative. You know, maybe plan a camp, be an advisor for a music camp. You know, learn how to be a prosperous helper. You know, somebody that shows up and makes a planner's life easier, that yields reward. You know, and I think that's my general mentality when I come home, is to at least take the abundance and wealth and knowledge that was dumped onto me out there in the distance, and bring the richness of it back home, because it's lonely out there, and a lot of our forefathers that muscled through that road work, they didn't get a chance to tell us the truth because they was feeding people. They was putting people through college, and they didn't know it's nothing either. They didn't know it's nothing for their sacrifice. So I mean, they didn't get the chance or the privilege to tell us that it's lonely. I miss my wife. I miss my kids. I miss my friends. I miss my pastor. I miss my spiritual advisor.
Success.
Yeah. And then it's like, then you get out there and get successful, and you're terrified. So then home again becomes the most important. It becomes your center. So at some point in your development, every one of us is going to figure out that you're going to want to be home. And it's just going to be time to figure out how to be creative at home and not be stressed about it. You know, it's like, be around a part of the community. You know, it's people that need what we have all the time. And I think we miss out because we're not as brave in the administrative ranks. Yeah. Where we just won't put a shirt on and just show up and just walk people down like we would if we was in the streets, or if we like trying to get to our favorite bass player so he can tell us some techniques or something. You know. So I mean, I don't know. It's that's something I would do. You know, get in a health, get in a holistic health, exercise, start learning about indigenous cultures. I mean, get in, you know, I think it just opens doors because you're walking through all these doors with a pretty solid skill set and a language that can be spoken by anybody. Yeah. It can't be denied. I mean, even if you don't like me as a drummer, my sound is in your pockets before you can get out of that building. Yeah. By the time I strike my first 5 notes, I'm all over you, sound wise. So it's like, you can't stop people from hearing this stuff, and by it being a skill, every door you walk through, even if it's not related to music, you have a high, you know, abundance of content and a skill. So I think that should also be noted, that, you know, we need DJs, we need curators, we need people to be there to manage certain creative events, because too much of our music has just been polluted and perverted, and there's no one to curate and manage it so that the most excellent prospect can take place. You know, because that's why it's so frustrating right now.
Well, you know, I would say this too. You know, I look at it like this when it comes to, like, so I myself, when I was only doing music, I still even then had like multiple streams within music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always look at it like, music, this is a skill that I'm trying to monetize, that I'm trying to, so what are the ways I can monetize it? Or people, what are the ways somebody monetizes their services? They perform the service, they teach the service, and then they also, we're fortunate enough to have, you know, royalties and other things such as that. So, you know, I take things like church. You know, I think a lot of religious institutions have bands or music these days. They also have services every week. So that's always been like a great way to stabilize that musician income at home. One of the tough things is when you go out of town, somebody has to sub, and usually the person that's there keeps the gig. But if you are home all the time, instead of waiting for the tour call, there's a church on every corner, you know, and that can at least give you a solid baseline where you're not, even if they, so say they paid you $200-300 a Sunday or something like that, that's a good part of your bills right there, and all you doing is working a church gig. And mind you, church gigs get up into the money way beyond that. So, you know, don't worry. They get way beyond that. But, you know, that's just on the average scale, you know, normal thing you'll see, you know, that
standard rate.
That's feasible for most people. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about feasible. We talking about ways that are feasible. Because everybody ain't going to have that $1 million gig. No. So, you know, and that right there, you know, that teaching private lessons, I always say teach them, if you have the ability to teach them out of your residence, if possible, versus working for a store.
Yeah.
Because the store is going to take half of your profit. They're going to take half of your profit.
More than half.
So say you can charge $40 for a lesson, right? They're going to take 20 of that, 25, you know, and you're only making about $15 an hour. You making, you know, versus you could be making $40 an hour doing it yourself, putting together a business model, and simply getting on social media, making some videos, you know, and getting on YouTube, making a few little content things, running a few ads, you know. You'd be surprised what you could do just getting on Facebook Live, playing and saying, I'm looking for students.
If you, they'd say if you have a following on Facebook, that's a real following. You can have a billion followers on Instagram and none of them pay you any mind unless you know, lighting the fire in the chimney every day, 2-3 times a day.
Exactly.
Which is good exercise if that's what you already out there doing. You need to be putting out content and bringing attention. You know.
Yeah, but there's websites too, like what is it, Thumbstack,
Wix.
That they've sent me quite a few students, or you know, people have found me through there. And on top of that, in terms of freelance work as a musician, you know, there's websites for that as well. What's that website that be sending me stuff? Gig Salad. Gig Salad is one of them, and I've gotten a few gigs off of Gig Salad.
Wow.
It's random gigs.
Wow.
And it just random money, and it just send you an email and say, you know, you got people interested, and you actually have to put in it's like a bidding war, real quick between musicians. So you gotta have your prices ready. You gotta have your spiel together, basically.
Yeah, right there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and you just send that back as soon as possible, because more than likely the first few people, they're not about to sit through 100 people. You know, so the first few people is the first few people they're going through, and the best one of them.
Yeah. They ain't gonna be stressed out all night. They're gonna try to get the best guy as quick as possible.
Right. So and that's within their budget.
Yeah.
So if you got a good YouTube list put together, all you gotta do is put that on there, you know, as your samples. Exactly. Just do exactly. You could be right in your house, but make it look fancier than your house. But, and do your videos and simply put them out. And you can also get other private solo gigs that way. You know, that's another way of when people say, so I want to ask you this. Because for me, when people say booking gigs, musicians think, oh, I'm supposed to just call. No, you're supposed to have your electronic press kit put together, your EPK put together, and everything in a package that's easily available for them to get to when you send it to them. So you're not fumbling around, oh, here's a link here. Oh, well, let me type up a bio now.
Yeah,
like, that's not going to work. Like, you have all that stuff together before, and then you just send them the package. You know what I'm saying? And you can also just, you know, because even people ain't even trying to click all the way through your website, bro.
Yeah, they just want to see what's hot right up front.
Yeah, so, you know, having that solo list that you do on YouTube, and you just, when you do new videos, you just add it to the playlist, and it'll keep your newest stuff on top. You can set it for that. And then you just, you know, you had all the stuff in your EPK, and you send it. That's all your booking agents and them going to do. They just going to ask you to write up all that stuff and give it to them. And then they going to just put it together in a package and send it out. And a lot of them do have the connects where they'll actually say yes.
And I mean, they also have PowerPoint and applications to beef up the content you send them. So yeah, you got to send them the lion's share meat of everything. But yeah, they're going to pretty much take that, beef that up, put it in, you know, some software, you know, make it like, you know, PowerPoint. Even.
Fancy.
Yeah, fancy. All that, yeah, fancy.
And professional looking. That's all.
Send it over. Because, I mean, a lot of clubs now is like, it's becoming mom and pop again.
Yeah.
And you're only able to really benefit from where the real brand is when you have that package, when you just do not, there's no like hesitation between you being able to give somebody something that they do not have to decode their device to get into. You don't have to like jump in and, you know, buy a new application. They can just get a taste of what you gonna look like when you in my spot. You know, how y'all gonna look. Just let me see how y'all move around another spot. oh, you got different kinds of bands, different configurations, or you got 3 different guitar players to choose from, 3 different piano players you can play. We got a rack of different horn players. Well, I want a big horn section in my play. Okay, well, this is the budget. This is what we do. Blah blah blah. Because you can do a deposit, so it's easier on you. Pay the remainder at the end.
A non-refundable deposit.
Well, that's obvious. You're paying a percentage.
Well, you got to say that. Ain't all in business because there's refundable ones and the non-refundable ones.
I mean, it's all going to be on paper.
You got to tell the younger guys because they don't know to add that in there, and that's super important in business. That detail in writing is crazy because the difference between refundable and non-refundable is the difference between you, if them canceling the gig, you still getting paid for just holding that date.
Yeah, for your slot.
Yeah. And which is in reality is something. If you are trying to fill up your schedule and you put this date down and you purposely didn't schedule anything else there, that means that day is now, if they cancel, you now don't make any money that day. So, it's not.
Time is money.
Yeah, it's all money. And when you make a guarantee, I mean, sometimes you gotta pay. It is what it is. Like,
yeah, I mean, I just did a gig and they had a rain date, a pre-rain date, where they're like, you're still gonna get compensated.
Yep.
But like, this contract has a clause in it that says if rain destroys the event, that you have to block off this date. You just have to agree to that in the beginning. I mean, it's just like certain clauses where if you play in certain cities, if you do so many of the clubs, you can't work within 10 miles or 5 miles of those places because then you're competing. Like you're creating like a power struggle between the other local businesses. Like I've played with artists and been like, man, we in Florida, man. We should just, we here. Like we should just do the whole thing. Like what are we doing? And they're like, well, yeah, but contractually, like this spot is going to probably sell out because we're there. So that means that once we leave there, we can't go to the next door and do a show again like a mile away because that's the same municipality, that's the same demographic of people, the same exact people. So now I'm snatching people out of bars, I'm snatching people out of clubs, snatching people out of restaurants. It's like we don't want your circus or your parade coming in and taking our local economy out of balance. Like you can't do that. So I mean, it's important to understand clauses, also within contractual, language. It's like the clauses are really where you get the fine print to make sure that you're certain about your parameters. Yeah. And I mean, that's the reason you get deposits. So it protects the both parties. The person that's preparing has something and the person who, is buying a service or purchasing your service, they have incentive. They're like, man, I already paid, I'm already in the process. So, it's a full business undertaking. Yeah. But that's
most artists don't come to a city more than once or twice a year. And that's on purpose. Like it's not because they couldn't. Artists, so Beyonce could be touring 24/7 if she really wanted to, but it would take her value down.
Yeah, you can't see her too much. And then advertisement too. Yeah. You gotta give it, like, market it so that you can make it good for other people around you. That's why, like, Floyd Mayweather's a genius. Like, I get he could afford 3 times a year and just stutch some good guy and 2 excellent guys in a year and just let that be that. But when he had an event, he took over a Mexican holiday. You know what I'm saying? Because why? He's going to make the wealthiest people in all of those classes make money just because this event is going to drag so many millions just into the area. So they're like, okay, we're doing this twice a year, so we need at least 4 or 5 months to make this attractive to everybody in the world. Our fans in Russia, our fans in Singapore, all these people that just have disposable resources to entertain themselves at that level.
Yeah, and besides that, is anything that is too much of is automatically devalued. It doesn't matter whether it's if you got way more peanuts than you need, the value of peanuts are going down. But say we get down to the last 10,000 peanuts on the earth. Them joints is going sky high. Now peanuts will be the highest.
Inflation, 10,000 a peanut.
So
10,000.
you know, you just want to take that into account. But I understand that when you gigging at home, that's why we're talking about diversifying the income within the music, because you can't, if you gig too much as an artist, not as a musician, and more than likely if you, yes, you can make a living at home as a musician, but for me, the best transition is when you become an artist and you can more easily make a living at home if you decided to, because you got more options. You're putting out music, you're creating digital streams of income, as well as you can then throw shows, and then you can throw clinics.
And by the way, we should tell you that this isn't easier. It just means you get maximum benefits.
Yeah, if you want more money, it's gonna be more work. I thought that was maybe I gotta say that.
Gotta imply
it's
that too,
more. It's more okay. If you want more money, you gotta put in more work. I thought that was kind of obvious, but I know some people think that, oh, I'm gonna go be an artist. It's actually harder than just being a musician. And that's why. But one thing I always notice is, I used to always see musicians. One reason why I wanted to be an artist is because I don't like being in the background.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I actually like being out in the front, even though I don't play an instrument that's traditionally out front.
Yeah, right.
You know, for me, that just gives me a better challenge. Like, but at the same time, you know, it gives me my own niche as well. Like, you know, it's a very niche thing for solo bass players at the moment. So, you know, I'm a ride the wave while we gonna make it easier for some of you guys by putting in some of this leg work. But I don't, for gigs, in terms of gigs, don't think of just clubs. I used to do a bunch of stuff like the Black Caucus, you know, Black Lawyers Association. You got all these different associations for different fields, and you got all these different unions. You know, you got these nonprofits. Not only that, but then when you find music nonprofits, they also use teachers, and they actually pay way better than the stores do. I love working for nonprofits, and as well as for gigs. They be having their gigs be paying, and you be and that's not even something you have to work on promotion for. That's just something you have to have the connections for in your city that you're in. And every city got somebody that's having events, doing something.
All the time.
So, you know, and more than one person. So you got to, you know, put in some leg work and, you know, get out there and meet some people. And some things are just time, you know. People might not rock with you right now, you know, in terms of putting you, helping you out with putting you on a gig or whatever. But if they see you working, you know, a lot of times people will follow you on social media, and then you end up, I happen to be an organize events for the company that I work for, and we're doing a holiday party. And I love watching your videos, so I want to see how much you would charge me to come in. And then there's the conversation into the door, into negotiations. It's not the gig yet, but that's negotiation. And negotiation have your minimum price. That's part of business. That's part of making a living at home or anywhere. You should have a business model that has a minimum to it.
Exactly. Like, that's the lowest I'm going to go, but we'll go down and work with you. You know,
right. And then another reason I went solo is it gave my business so much more options for business. Like you said, they don't always have the budget for the huge band. You know, what's your budget? That's what I ask them before I even ask them how many pieces you want, because I have my minimum. So regardless, if your budget, say my minimum is theoretically $200 or something for a gig, right? And I want to pay my band members no less than $150 for that gig, right? They talking about they got a budget of $500. I'm like, okay, I can bring 3 people, including myself. But I can't come in here with 5.
I've made
so
4.
Not maybe 4 because I got my minimum.
Yeah.
And I ain't going below that.
Yeah.
And it's already, they taking up 300 by my trio. I'm getting 2. That's 5 right there. So with that, you know, it's like, yo, no, you can't have a 7-piece for $500.
It's ridiculous.
But people be thinking this, bro. Like, they really be thinking that they supposed to pay that type of money. So you got to know. And then we talking about skilled musicians that work on their stuff, that are professionals. Don't be talking about demanding $2,000 and you can't show up on time and you can't compete against the rest of the musicians in your area that are, you know, are professionals in terms of skill. There's a certain level of skill. That's why they used to have a union back in the day. You familiar with how the union used to be? They used to have rankings and shit.
In the union?
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, somebody got to be the number one call.
I mean, what you mean, like first chair? Like in
No, I mean, it's not like first chair, but it's just like certain people get
they have seniority,
that call
like,
first.
yeah.
Like, you know.
They're the top guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just playing. Is they show up on time, they can do all the skills the job requires, they come dressed properly, they're courteous, because a lot of times when you are the boss and you are booking a gig, you got to set the example for your band, you got to talk to your band, you got to let them know how to act, how to not act on your gigs. One thing we were talking about earlier was drinking on a gig, and you know how I have like just a standard policy of the, you know, depending on how many sets, you know, wait a set to start. If you're gonna have a drink, wait a set, and in that way, before anything kicks in, you be drinking during the last set, you know, if that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, if that's what you can. I mean, if especially if you can't handle it, like especially like if you're not a person that gets a drink and you're just locked in.
Yeah.
Because I know some people that are like that. You know, they'll have a glass of wine, maybe a shot before they play, and they're locked in.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not, bro. Like, that's why I'm like that. So I guess that's why I made it a policy for my band, because every drink, my playing ability diminishes.
Okay. Yeah.
With every drink, like, it gets worse and worse. And for other people, it may sound fine, but I know it's not the representation of my brand that I would like to see. You see what I'm saying? You got to do what you would like to see for your brand, not what everybody else is doing or feels is right. You know what I'm saying? So if you got a certain representation of your brand and of quality, because that's determines if you get return business, whether you can make that living at home or not.
Mm-hmm. And then again, I mean, at this moment, we're only really speaking about one department of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got music therapy. You got a lot of other elements. I mean, but, you know, you got to be sharp, like you said. If that's the department that you want to be in, those are the things you got to be aware of. But that's coming from just the first degree, which is you being on an instrument with a band in the best possible, like, most, you know, at least the most comfortable pay that you can tolerate for each event. But I think also it takes the strain off of that having to matter so much for us the way it does is when we can compartmentalize our skill set to be like, okay, cool, now I can use this for music therapy. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll help children on the spectrum meditate. I'll go to like children's hospitals and, you know, play meditation music for them, you know, like other things that, like, this stuff is door opening, like wall smashing stuff. I've seen people do it once and they've never been back on the road. They've never come back to the monotony, because the road is a beautiful thing, I think, but also it can create delusionment quickly, because home becomes so many places, and then when things slow down, as they do for everyone, it becomes, you know,
you feel stagnant.
You feel, well, not just stagnant, it's like perplexing, because the movement of that and becoming so flexible as a person to be able to find a center wherever you go. So when you finally get back home for you now has to represent all of the nuance and magic that happened over like 200,000 miles. Like the best time you had in Brazil, the best time you had in Italy, the best conversation that you had with your favorite musician in a part of the world where none of the people that would interrupt your conversation at Guitar Center or at Towson State Clinic are there. You get to sit next to your favorite guy
Yeah.
and you're the only people there. Nobody knows who is, and you have that intimate time to spend 3 hours and share your philosophy, ask them questions so they can help you refine yours. You know, it's other ways, and I think sometimes mentorship, like a part of working at home, is like find a mentor, find a positive like a positive person, object, because music can be so trivial, and some of the characters that make up our industry are not always savory. You people who are trying to achieve righteousness, and even for some of them, righteousness isn't even a part of their menu, and they still are able to achieve good, you know, in some capacity as far as music and business success and everything. But you know, I think the reason that we can get so sharp on what we have to stay on top of as sidemen and players and leaders is because we don't take a break and put our efforts somewhere off of that instrument. You know, like, and not just being an administrator to put yourself in the best position you can be back with the instrument again, but just like you, the musical institution and entity that is that, just without the instrument in your hand, and how can that benefit your community to the point where, because the resources are going to come. There's nobody that's going to look at your rich, refined offering and say, wow, we got to find a way to have this monetized. And then if you already have that mentality and that skill set from being a sideman, from being a person who books their own gigs, you also become more valuable. Event planning. Learn about event planning. How does it look when I'm planning an event that I'm not going to be in? What if I get hired to be, hey man, I'm going to pay you 10 grand to hire some guys to do what I seen you doing, but I don't want you to do it. I want you to be the planner. Put on a suit, and I want you to tell all them what to do, and I'll give you 10 grand. Here's the budget for them per man, blah, blah, blah. Figure it out.
Or subcontract gigs. You can, that's
another one. That's good.
The hard part of, you know, if you can't make a gig, you subcontract it out to another musician. Meaning those people still pay you, and you pay that other person what you guys agree to. So say the gig was, let's just make it simple. If it was $200, you'll approach whoever, another fellow contractor, and you start looking at other musicians and people. I start calling. I don't even be when I talk to musicians, I be using regular business terms. I don't even be like, oh, musician. I'm like, contract. You're a contractor, my guy. Like, because I treat you like that because this is business. Like, you know, so, you know, I'll give you 150. You know, they don't, and you don't discuss your pay with other people. And that's another thing. Don't be so hyped to tell everybody your business and be pressed to show off. Like,
but I see more people that are in other people's business exposing what people get paid more than I see people talking about what they get paid. Because I feel like the payment of a musician can be very fluid, you know, and you could end up on a gig and you not making what you would demand if you were approached about a gig.
Sometimes the minimum, sometimes
you got to do as a singular entity. You have that privilege that hey, I still get $50 contracts. Why can't I go make my $50 if that's what I got to do with these hours? I can go do that and do that 3 times in a day or 5 times in a day. Cool, because I'm definitely doing stuff like that, teaching lessons, you know, whatever. So if I'm willing to do that, then I don't think it should scathe me if I can collect enough of them to make it make sense and to fill it up, you know. And I think that's also the thing in business too. It's like when I go to 7-Eleven, they still have $2 items. You know, and that's when you have a healthy, broad business, you got something for everybody.
You got product list.
You got a product list.
List of services. That's what I was saying.
Kids
like, you know,
can get something. Adults can get something. You know.
And that's what I was trying to, you know, that's what I'm saying. You got to really do think of it like a business. A product we create products and through our music and so. You know, one way that you can make a product and sell it is by selling beats or things like that. That's little stuff you could do. Not little stuff. Let me not say that because you can make a ton of money selling beats, boy. You can make a lot of money selling beats. So, you know, things like that. And, You got websites like Fiverr, you know, that have you doing little freelance stuff where you're actually playing on other people's products, so you're helping them create their product, which is, you know, could go under services or product category. I don't know how we want to put that one, but it depends on, because it's a lot of capacities you could do within that as well. You could be the producer. You could be one of the musicians playing on there. You could be the audio engineer if you recording your own music every day and you know what you're doing and you can actually mix. Decent. Yeah. You know, so, you know, things I do as well. Like, I have a little studio here. So I rent out my studio sometimes for different people. I let them do they thing.
Rehearsal space.
Yeah.
If you got the space, or you can rent out a space.
Yep.
You lease a space, then you can rent it out for rehearsals. I mean, and that's paying for the space.
Yep.
If you do hour slots in your own rehearsal space,
yep,
then you're talking about, you can charge half of what the monthly fee probably is per hour.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? If your monthly fee is like 200 bones,
yeah,
and you charging 100 per hour, and you got 4 or 5 groups or whoever entities coming into your place for 17 hours in a day.
Right.
Come on, man. Like, that's just like you saying. There's a lot of other ways, but I'm thinking too, don't get sucked into just what can happen with that instrument in your hand.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that will have you right back into that.
Whoa. We're going to get into we're going to get into stuff outside of music. I wanted to start with making a living home with just for musicians inside of music. And then we're just going to, after we play, we're going to play a little bit for you guys some more. And we're going to start talking about diversifying your skill set outside of music. Because, you know, just now we were kind of going through some ways that diversify inside music, things you can do from your house or things you can start doing immediately to better your business or your gigs or, you know, one last thing. If people not coming on time on the regular, I know they're your friends, but it is what it is. You know, you're gonna have to, you know, be firm with them. A lot of younger guys, they sticking there with their friends too long. In business. Not saying that you're not my friend otherwise, but I can't just stick with you too long with the business and you're not doing what I need you to do. And I know that's very hard to do. I grew up very loyal to you know, a lot of my friends and stuff, and kind of it shoots you in the foot sometimes, you know, trying to always work with your friends. You know?
I mean, now I can't.
Not all of my friends. I had a lot of great friends.
But I can't really tell people where to put their loyalties, you know, because I never know how the tables turn.
No, we talking about business. We talking about business. People showing you.
Well, granted,
they're showing you where their loyalty is.
That's a good theory, but I've seen a lot of guys that have had that happen over long careers, and those guys still hung and stayed together. And that was just in their dynamic, something that they could look over. It's good policy to like just protect your own self and, you know, watch the behaviors and the tendencies of people you work with, you know, and see the best possible result for, you know, having them in or whatever. But I think I don't want to get into, you know, telling people, you know, where the loyalty should be, because you never know how your influence could impact things. And I mean, I've had to, and this is coming from somebody who's had to let friends go, and it hurt and it sucked. But they still have my loyalty.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about, when I said business. I'm not letting you go as a friend. That's different.
But I can still.
It's two different things.
And I still do other businesses with them. Yeah. And they're really good at it. You know, so it's like, I get it. Like, I'm a person, I don't think you can choose loyalty. And I think it has nothing to do with business, if we be frank about it. Loyalty really has nothing to do with business at all.
Well, because when we talk about business, if you talk about when I say being loyal in business, that means, like, if you have a loyal customer, that customer is coming to you over and over again.
Absolutely.
But if you don't treat that customer properly, that loyalty then goes away. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about in business. Now, I'm not talking about personal loyalty. I'm talking about in business.
Working with friends.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you give friends leeways. You're naturally going to give friends leeway you wouldn't give to other people.
Sure.
Most people would if they really. Yeah,
You know,
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
What I think you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Like, just make sure that you're not overextending that.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To the point, because I've lost contracts trying to hang in there with folks.
You can lose.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm on time. I'm dressed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
they're not here all dressed, or they came in street clothes and everybody else is in tuxes. And it's like, and it's not one time. And it's like, and that's why we went over etiquette a little bit earlier. So you know how to act individually. Then once you have a standard for how you act individually, then you can have a standard for somebody else. But if you're not doing that stuff, then how can you expect that of them?
Yeah, again, it's
so you gotta, it starts with you. Then it spreads to the rest of the crew. Yeah, that's a little saying right there. Start with you though. Yeah, you like that one. I know you like that one. Yeah. Let's see if we can get in here and play a little. Let me see. All right, and we back. The Cutting Session Podcast. We here with the bass niggas and my man Dana Hawkins. How can they find you, brother?
Dana J Hawkins at Instagram. On Instagram, I'm Dana J Hawkins. You can find me there.
make sure y'all find all the stuff. See, I'm sure y'all done seen them on YouTube. You done seen them here. You done seen them there. You done seen them play with every big name artist, all your favorite artists. He with all of them. Even if he ain't with them now, he gonna play with them.
You wild.
So,
Thank you, bro.
we gonna get into ways you can, I guess, let's think of quick ways. Quick skills, meaning, I guess, 6 months to a year.
Okay.
You know, you talking about the skills, so it can't be but so quick. You know what I'm saying? Most valuable, you know what I'm saying, skills take a little bit of time, research, and some time to have experience.
Develop.
Especially if you want to sell it or do it. So, you know, and a lot of times the best things to do is to start with your hobbies. I was cycling for years, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't unnatural for me to start building electric bikes. My dad does HVAC and electric work, you know. So, you know, I had a lot of those skills growing up, and a lot of those same skills are required to do that, and I already knew how. I also had bike mechanic skills from working on my own bikes all these years. You know, I actually used to be 265 pounds, believe it or not, and I lost all of that weight on the bike.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
you know, I got a real special passion for cycling. It definitely extended my life. So I took that and turned it into another business. And before I even did that, before I even got that far, I took that and I started doing Uber Eats, Grubhub, things like that. I was already putting in like 150, 200 miles a week on a bike. Wow. And I started being like, I might as well turn these miles into some money. I ain't never going to be a big, you know, professional cyclist. But I am pretty good.
Damn.
I am pretty good. So I might as well start, instead of just riding one big long ride, you know, I got to ride, stop. But I'm still putting in the same amount of miles. I'm still doing the same thing. And now I'm monetizing it. And you can easily make a $700 to $104, $1,400, $1,400 a week doing delivery services like 3 hours a day.
That's true.
You know, you don't have 3 to 4 hours a day, you know, and and when you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. So, you know, you're still in the contracting work. I recommend not working for people. Yeah. If possible. Right. Because when you do get those calls, you want to be able to roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never want to be able to just be stuck at home, and then that way, that's why a lot of musicians won't start another income stream outside of music. They're scared they're going to get stuck at home. So the way to get around that is owning your own businesses or contracting yourself to people where you can easily subcontract it out or do something else. Like, you can easily subcontract out a church gig or something like that as well and make that money. But we talking about things outside of music, you know. But if you could, you know, it's a lot of stuff. What's some things you?
I mean, I think naturally, like learning about the things that are related to what we do. So, say we talking recording, we're talking filming, podcasting. So that means that engineering is just as vast a world as the science of music. And I think learning something about electrical, just practical things like how to use, you know, splicers, you know, how to, you know, just the starter kit things, how to repair tube amps, you know, when tubes go up, just understanding the stage. I mean, to me, it implies electrical, just having a starter kit understanding of electrical work and how things go, where at least if you're not versed, somebody that is versed can help you, and they're not like dragging you along. You can at least be able to assist a person with better experience, because at that point you're gaining the experience by assisting them. You're sort of in like a pseudo apprenticeship position. I think learning electrical, learning how to write and arrange music, like, I mean, based on with a pencil, like learning how to deal with manuscript paper, learning how to be legible, in just something that's not related to doing music literally, but it gives you a high level skill set. You can get paid for doing transcriptions.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can get
big
paid
time.
for arranging stuff and putting it down and making it legible for people who are like you, and then you're automatically a resource when you can work on electrical, when you can deal with electrical problems. Everyone needs electrical. I don't care who they are. You can go to any construction site. They have something, a generator or some form of power. Everyone needs it. Every kind of engineer, physicist, chemical engineers,
HVAC, all that stuff.
all of them, plumbers. They need electrical. So you have to have and again, I'm saying, I think everyone should pursue and maybe have an above average knowledge of something that is that integral to, music, which is electronics. I mean, it would only help,
Yeah, whatever interests you. Like, if I don't suggest you messing with electricity if it don't interest you.
Yeah, right, if you're not into it. But I mean, I just
because if you're not willing to pay attention to detail, that's the main thing with electricity.
Yeah.
Is that attention to detail, I found, is very similar to music.
Yeah.
Because, when your life is on the line,
yeah, man, it's
you better get it right.
It's dangerous.
Or when a lot of money is online, because, it's not just your job. You can mess up somebody's whole system.
Yeah.
Now, who's supposed to pay for that?
Yeah.
Sir?
Now the whole thing is screwed. Yeah, I mean, that's right. If you're not into paying attention to detail, again, that's why I'm stressing more or less, have a starter kit general understanding. And that also means I can't expect you to know what I mean. Understanding what it means to be safe. Safety should be the first thing you're versed in any kind of like job that requires that much of your attention and attention to detail, and for you to be thorough in every step you take, because safety with electrical is like, I've seen a dude zap himself. Like, we're working on the same line, and he accidentally gets too comfortable, thinks he got it, and he touches a wire. Now at 120 watts, that wire's like coming for you. It's basically taking a magnetic current, electromagnetic current, and it's attracted to it. So you're trying to get away from the wire, and it's actually approaching you. And he burnt his pinky right
well, you
here.
got electricity in your body.
Yeah, you do. I mean, he burnt his pinky, and he jumped so fast he fell from his ladder, burnt his pinky, and had like 2 or 3 holes in his forearm. That's how quickly it traveled. He's like, he couldn't feel his arm for the rest of the workday. He had to leave. So it's like, it's serious. But I mean, I'm not telling y'all to go.
Any skill though, you just wanna. We basically saying, make sure you actually, just like because a lot of musicians, they're good at music, but they're not good at paying attention outside of music. Just as much attention as you pay to the details of playing the instrument, you need to do that with the other things that you're doing as well. Or you want to, and of course, there's not but so much time in a day, so you gotta.
That's what I mean.
Make sure you know what you're doing before you jump out.
But I'm not. I don't want them to think they need to go out and be electricians.
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
We giving options.
Have a general understanding. I'm not telling you to get close enough to it to where your life's on the line. That's not what having a general understanding or understanding the safety of a thing, is. It's just having enough that someone that can teach you can be. They can also benefit from you being.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I was saying. I think it's starting with your hobby probably would be your best option, especially as a musician, just because it's something you've already fit into your schedule and you already been working on as well. You know what I'm saying? Outside of music, I mean, some guys, if you know how to shoot videos or you know how to do photography, you can also go do photography gigs, or you can go do things like that. You may only know a little bit about a photography, but you might like it, or you might know enough to do your to work a camera, know how to set the settings and do all that stuff. From there, all you gotta do is start going on YouTube and getting more skills. And like, don't be scared to do that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there again though, like I don't really know what everybody's doing because I'm not with them, you know. So it's like I understand the projection, you know, what you're saying too, but in the same respects, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody. It's like this is based on just the understanding that we have of what else there can be done, like what we can
No,
do.
no, we
But like
giving
you can become a lifeguard, like
Yeah.
you can
No,
literally,
don't take the example. The
You know,
example
I'm-
is just an example. It's not the overall message. Take the message from it. It's like it's more so. So if I said photography just because a lot of musicians are already shooting videos.
But I don't
You
want
know.
to get into like what most musicians do, because really, if we get down to it, we don't really know what most musicians do. We just know the guys we get the privilege of seeing and being around, and a lot of them are in the position where.
Well, I know a lot of them do Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, but
A
I
heck
don't.
of a lot
I
of
don't
them.
have time to see them all day because I'm not really on there all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, more or less, I want people to have the same freedom and autonomy in observing their options outside of music as they do in, because we all know how to be thorough about something, but when
Yeah.
it comes down to looking outside of what your passion is, it's you have to be brave. We have to also talk about the attitude that everybody doesn't have this personality. Everybody doesn't have the same
Yeah.
trajectory or response to life. So realistically, it's like, yeah, the hobby could be good, but again, what's related to the hobby? What are the finer details in, hey, what's related to my hobby? You know, like if I like dirt bikes, you know, what's related to my hobby? Understanding.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, cool.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I get what's I get it. I mean, I think the best thing is honestly whatever really suits the moment, because realistically, once you get to the point where you need to benefit from something outside of what your passion is, it probably shouldn't even be your hobby. It should probably literally be another skill set. You know, because the hobby's gonna be recreational, and you might find something in it. But if you get like a skill set, like a starter kit, just understanding of many different things, it's like it could probably enhance the hobby. Because I want my hobby to be my hobby.
But
I don't want to monetize it. I want my hobby to be like away from what I earn. Like I want to go fishing. I don't want to be a bass pro.
But if we
You
talking
know.
about your main goal is to be primarily a musician. When you making, a lot of times when we making money outside of music, it's not necessarily it's more so necessarily, you know, we need the capital because we want to stay in music. You know, we
Yeah.
would rather just do music for a living.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, overall. But if you have to do something else, I'm saying pick something else you like.
Yeah,
You already
I get
know
it.
you like your hobby,
Mhm.
and it's not like you gotta do that one all the time. Like it's very rare that you're gonna catch up. If you do music as much as we do, it's very rare that we gonna catch up other skills all the way to where we got the music.
Unless they're related to
Unle-
what you're doing.
Well, I'm talking about and keep doing music all the time. That's what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
we talking about, you know, skills outside of music.
Mm-hmm.
So the skills outside of music, you're not going to be using them in music necessarily all the time. So it's like it's something that's easier to maintain if you already do it on a regular. The reason, you know, I just try to get people to do think of the easiest way to get it done, because you know people give you. I don't want people to think your excuses can hold you back in life. Like everybody got an excuse or a reason to not do something or to fail. Don't think because the money's not coming from here that it can't come from somewhere else. And more times than often, it's something right under your nose. Like I said, I didn't know I could make all that money on a bike delivering food on the side for a few hours a day. Like
I didn't know I could make $200 per recess light before either, while I was preparing the music for a 3-hour gig.
Right, you see, and you can't have the time to always do both.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's where the hard part comes in. It's like, you know, you gotta also. I always kind of speak from a place of kind of juggling music and everything else in your life. You know, your music and your career, and making sure that stays alive, because a lot of musicians end up letting their dream die, trying to make the dollar. So when I think
I feel like a musician's a musician. The dream doesn't die. It just
Well, I'm talking about chasing. I know a lot of musicians that will. Yes, you come and you play on the side. I'm talking about when the dream dies. I'm talking about like when you was a kid, you kind of wanted the money to come from it. You wanted the money and the recognition from your hard work. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody else, nobody wants to be broke, and nobody wants to be unrecognized for their hard work or skills. So it's like you trying to balance building your legacy in music, as well as taking care of everybody and yourself and being an adult in general. You know what I'm saying? You know, anything can happen. Your parent gets sick and you gotta come up with some extra money for that. You know, and a lot of times musicians have a hard time coming up with quick money, especially because if they don't have the skill prepared. I'm telling you, get that skill prepared before. You know, usually if you're doing it as a hobby, you at least like it enough to where you could do it, you know, every day and not have an issue. Like I only reason I love making music, money from music, is because it's something I like to do and I can do it every day. And that's how I know I like music, or you know, be the signs for me. If you can get up and you can do it every day, and you fine with it, and you don't feel like you belittling yourself or you're not following what you want to be in life. You know, so the goal is always, for me personally, always to keep the music dream alive ahead of everything else. Ahead of every business. If I'm gonna put all the chips on one thing, it's gonna be music. So, you know, everything else has to complement that in some way for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I just seen a lot of guys, they get those 9 to 5s. That's why I said I would personally try to stay away from 9 to 5s. Try to do contractual work or things where you can control the hours. So when you get them calls, like I was saying earlier, you know, you want to get those calls, you want to go. You know how many times guys be like, yo, I can't do this, I can't do that because I don't get off the 6. But the gig is at 6. But you could have got off at 4 if you controlled your own hours. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to position yourself to be where you want to be. You know, overall, always do things that are trying to get you, or try to do as many things to keep you on that path that you want to ultimately end up on. Like, I want to end up being a bigger artist, but I got kids, and they got to eat too. So they can't wait until I become that bigger artist to eat. So, you know, I just like, man, take that bike and cycling and make it work. So, I mean, you got any others, like suggestions, in terms of ways, either things they can quickly do, or maybe any other suggestions on how they can maybe find their way to what they...
I think looking at investing also is very important.
Yeah, there you go.
Investing is good.
Can't believe I forgot that one.
I think there's a lot less artists out here than we think. I think we've created this model, and I think music institutions have created these rubrics for people to go through certain behaviors and believe that they're an artist at the end. And I would say too, curate your stuff. Make sure it's your art, and make sure you like it before you try to brand it. Because I see that a lot of people are putting out premature offerings, and they don't have the depth of what the person's experience will be when they're complete as an artist. Because sometimes it's not just the checklist. It's that you as an artist have been tested by different environments in different places that aren't necessarily stimulated by your natural approach to things. But they can develop a taste for what you do, and testing it is really important. So I think that's also, get into your identity because I think some of us get lost in the work. We just find more things to do. And there's no person that comes out the other end. They look in the mirror and they don't even like or recognize who they're looking at. And I get it. Like, if you have responsibilities, you know, it's easy to say, hey man, go do this, just go do that, just because, you know, because we got some people that are trying to use music to just get out of bed. You know, it's like it represents so much more than what you can get out of it. So like, don't forget what music, the spirit of music is about, and why you can be able to be good in other areas of life, in other departments, because of what you get from music, the way you can communicate with people. It's other skill sets you get. So yeah, I mean, I think the advice I would give anybody is to be sober minded. And when I say that, I mean be reasonable in your thinking. You know, if you're being approached by a lion and you have enough time to get away from him, get away from him. Don't try to act like you don't understand the dynamic of a lion and a human person. Be reasonable, be sober minded. Don't step out there and try to take all these giant leaps and rely on things that you're not conditioned to rely on. Build up what you're not conditioned to rely on, but make reasonable steps and plans. I mean, even in my career, I've gotten to a place where I am very comfortable with what I've already shared and offered in the work that I put in, as far as the initial part of my career, because it was just so many different things that put a demand on me. I wasn't actually out there comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I had to figure out how to play other people's music good. So I think it's identity, knowing who you are, like getting away from this instrument, having a real identity. That's the thing, because the isolation of what we do to get good at music makes us really separate from the world. So when we get out there, we kind of like socially you know, trying to find where we fit, because we don't want to be like everybody. That's why we choose this kind of discipline, you know, because it will test every version of you, you know, especially if you want to eat from it. So identity, get to know yourself, do those things that when you look in the mirror, like he said, you know, it's like if you can get up and do it and you can like it, consider it. You know, I'm not telling you to do nothing specifically, but just consider it. You know, like if you can tolerate something and it can be to developing,
you don't feel degraded or lost.
You know, it's just you just feel good. It, you know, you know what that you can, something can be yielded from your efforts. You know, I would say please consider it. Please consider it.
Yeah, because I tell you now, I was not considering doing Uber Eats. I literally, how do I say this without sounding bougie? I don't know. I never did anything outside of music, and I really prided myself on that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like that was, I don't know why I was cared about that so much. But
dedicated.
But it was like, I ain't never had to do nothing but music. Yeah. You know, and I ain't never have like no bunch of big artists support me. So I've always made the majority of my living at home. So, you know, it was something I've always been very proud of. But when things kind of slowed down and I had to find a way to make it happen, you know, and I'm 3-4 kids in, you know, you like, all right.
Things need to make sense, you know.
Yeah, give me this daggone delivery bag already. Get on this bike.
That's right, man. I mean, I'll be honest, I look at like, what's my man's name? J.D. Blair, you know, the drummer. I believe it's J.D. Blair. He's a country drummer. He played with like Victor Wooten and he played with like Faith Hill and all these other artists. And this guy was the manager at his local Kmart in his town. And when he was on the road, he was on the road. But when he got off, he went back to Kmart. I'm not thinking he enjoys the job to the highest degree, but he developed such a high skill at it. It's like he's enjoying it now.
But he might legit enjoy being the manager over there.
But here's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. He enjoys it, but like the fact that we're trying to, you know, convince people who may need to work at home to consider things. And what I'm saying is like, he may not have loved that job when he first got that job, but he got so good at it, and he used probably the skill set, the same mentality he used to get good at music. He used to get good at that job, and he became somebody at that job that was so important that he created his own pocket he created his own career within something that only had these slots available. Now he can enjoy it. You know, now he can say, I can get off at 4 because I got reliable people, and I know the people in general management, so I'm cool. But I mean, that's just examples.
And I mean, and the same thing, and that goes to when you do whatever, you know, establishing those relationships with people so you could be able to have that flexibility. Like even with churches, like I said, some churches I have a problem with you subcontracting. Some won't. But it depends on your relationship and your contract, what you originally put in your original contract is what you need to pay attention to. But that's a different. We ain't going back to that. But that's very important though.
The next video.
Yeah, that's very important though. Like, but you know, just basically what he's saying is don't sit there starving because the phone calls dry up. That's my main reason for doing this, and I know the feeling. I know you may not want to do it, you know, but it definitely, you know, sometimes you just gotta humble yourself. You know, some of us are a little too arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, we think we too good to do regular. Well, it's not a regular. Everything's a regular job. I mean, most jobs are regular jobs. Being a musician is a regular job. There's a heck of a lot of us. You know, but we don't think of it like that. Sometimes we think of ourselves above, you know, a regular job because we get to be on stage and people cheer for us. And
celebrated and stuff.
yeah, you know, and that's all good and dandy, but guess what? Those people not gonna go home with you. They not gonna be there with you when you starve. And they're not gonna feed your kids unless, you know, they happen to be actual fans of yours, then they will, but that's different. Everybody, like he said, everybody can't be an artist, just like everybody can't run their own business, so I understand that aspect too. And that took me a long time to get to, but that's also another topic. But, you know, just understand that do what's necessary because somebody needs you. Somebody, or if they don't need you now, they're going to need you. And it's better to be in a position to help somebody else than to need help all the time. It just is. I mean, I don't ever see people that are in a position to help somebody complain all the time. Like, other than people asking them for stuff all the time. But it's still, ask them would they rather be the person that got to ask. They know. They'd rather be, even if they got to say no all the time, they would rather be the person in the position. Yeah. So, you know, you do what you got to do to feed and provide for folks. And like I said, I was telling Dana this story earlier about the down payment for my house and how I would have never had the rest of the money that they surprisingly threw on me if I hadn't started that extra business. You know, which would have been a difference between me renting again and me, you know, now moving into, you know, a homeowner status, which ultimately is building wealth for my kids and you know, you can get things like mortgage insurance. So if anything happens to yourself, you know, it gets paid off and the kids still have the house. You know, now they got property.
For life, yeah.
You know, they're not straight for life, but it's a better starting point than being homeless.
I mean, if you have a home, you have a business. I mean, that's straight for life. I mean, you own a piece of this planet. Yeah. You know, and I mean, yeah, that's really important.
You know, and I think as musicians, we need to make sure that we are trying to be financially secure at some point. Like, I took a lot of risks when I was younger in terms of I knew I if I spent that money on this gear or whatever it is I needed to learn, whatever I was trying to do, then I wasn't going to have the money to eat. I just simply can't do that as I get older. Because if it was just me, I could do that. Take way more risks, be just up and leave, just do whatever. But when you got family, those extra responsibilities come in, and that's very realistic for a lot of musicians. You know, some of them are ignoring their families and think that's okay. That's not cool either. But, you know, so don't ignore your family because you chasing your dream. You can still chase that dream at the same time. Because I started 2 other businesses does not mean I don't do music anymore. I had people DMing me. You not doing music no more? No, I'm still doing music, bro. I'm just not doing video. You know, because I'm grinding to get what I need for my family. Right. You know, which is, you know, quite frankly, if you're not paying me at the moment, it's more important to me entertaining you. You see what I'm saying? So, like, kind of put your priorities in order, put your pride in check a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because this has been another The Cutting Session Podcast. I'm the Bass Niggas, and this is Dana Hawkins. And they can find you again.
Dana J. Hawkins on Instagram, Dana J. Hawkins on Facebook.
And YouTube.
And
Go to
YouTube.
YouTube. All them
Dana
YouTube videos. Fire. Fire, boy. I was watching some earlier, boy. You better go watch them. Go watch them now. Go as soon as you get off of this one. Go check them out. It's serious. What was the album y'all had just did? Didn't y'all the album y'all did?
Oh yeah, Evan and I just did Parallels, and we have a new album coming out soon. I know most of my parts are done. I did most of all the drums for that album, so yeah, I did all the drums for that album. So that album will be coming soon. Maybe a video sooner.
Well, that album's gonna be fire. He didn't say it right. I'm gonna say it for him. That album's gonna be fire. Go ahead.
Yeah, me and Evan love and enjoy what we do, over like the last 11 years in process of, developing, being a duo and having like, full sound and everything. It's been really exciting. So I think the new record should be pretty exciting, and as like our, at our 11th year mark, this is the furthest we've pushed it so far. So, I think it's going to be another clear depiction of like, how much we love music and, everything we put into it, as sidemen, playing in other people's bands.
Yeah.
And the nuances you get from, serving other people, so I keep an eye out for the record. I mean, I'll be posting videos, keep an eye out for, I teach, drum lessons. I offer that also. So,
yes.
When you come to my social media, you'll see, Reggie's a part of my, extended family, like
yep.
outside of social media. Like I know Reggie in real life.
He's in my house.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna let everybody in my house. I know it's a podcast, but we gonna limit the people. I don't like everybody in my house.
No, that's where you can get me.
Hey, that real talk, bro. You don't bring that energy up in here. I gotta sage and do all that weird stuff they be doing. Whatever weird stuff they do to get that bad energy
I just open the doors and pray, bro. Open my window and just pray and go ahead.
But yeah, so, of course we're going to have him back again, so don't worry, at some point, whenever his schedule permits, we'll have him back. I'm hoping to make him a regular because he's got a lot to say, and he also has a lot of knowledge, so make sure you go to his social media and subscribe. And of course, I'm Reggie Payne, Bass on all social media, and on Twitch and YouTube, I'm the Bass Niggas, and in real life, when you see me, I'm the Bass Niggas, and I'll holler at y'all. Peace.